Hello and welcome to Insight, an interview format web series and a free multimedia knowledge resource. I'm Hari Adivarekar, an independent journalist and your host on Insight. Today, we kick off our series with our very first episode, and I'm very happy and grateful that we have on the show a very special guest all the way from Dhaka in Bangladesh. Fabeha Monir is a visual journalist who works with photos, text, video, and VR to tell meaningful stories on social development, migration, gender violence, and forced exile in marginalized communities. She is widely published in the biggest newspapers and magazines all over the world and has done work for many multinational NGOs. She has one of the most loving and authentic approaches to her work that I have ever seen and works tirelessly on some of the most heartbreaking and hostile stories in conditions that are also very difficult. She always finds the innate dignity in every person that she interacts with. So, without further ado, let's move on to the interview and to Fabeha. Hello, Fabeha. It's really good to have you on the show as our first ever interviewee.
Hi, Hari. Thank you so much. Such a lovely introduction. I'm really grateful that you appreciate my work, and I'm really happy to be part of this episode.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Firstly, I'd like to know how you are doing in this crazy new world that we are living in.
It's a really crazy time, frankly, to say, because I mean, we have never experienced this before, and I mean, it's really difficult as a photojournalist, and as I am working in the field like pretty often, almost every day. So it's a really difficult time we all are going through, but I really hope and believe that we will overcome this soon. I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too. Now, tell me, was it hard to decide to go out and work when a lot of other journalists and photojournalists are choosing to stay at home for various reasons valid reasons that they might have, of course, not blaming them. But was it hard for you to decide to go out?
See, this is a hard decision because it's not about my safety. Because I have been working and covering various disasters in the past. I mean, last many years I have been covering disaster like a cyclone, like flood, or earthquake. So these disasters are not unfamiliar to me. But this catastrophe is really a very different thing than what we have experienced before, because if I get infected, I might be very I might harm other people. That is the one thing I really feel that every photojournalist or journalists are thinking about it all the time. So yes, it was really a hard decision, but I was certain that I'm going to cover this situation, because as you know, documenting this situation is also very important, because telling this story from the forefront is really important, because every day people are getting know what is the situation of the world and the country. If journalists and photojournalists stop reporting, then how people are going to know this authentic reportage? Because you have to be there. And of course, we should be really grateful to our doctors and the security personnel who are equally working with us. I mean, we are working shoulder to shoulder. So I really feel that it's a responsibility, but with proper precaution and with taking a lot of safety measurement in. We have to make sure that we are at least we are taking this precaution to save ourselves. I'm not 100% sure that I will not get affected. No one is sure about that, but I
Sure.
feel that I have to be very careful about this, and I have been covering COVID-19 pandemic in Bangladesh since the very beginning. Yeah.
Okay. Now, so that brings me actually to our to my next question, which is about your precautions. Now, this is a photograph that we're looking at that you have shared freely on your social media. That is the kit that you use. Of course, this you can see. Of course, camera and other things are missing. We'll show you a picture of that as well, because I'm sure they're curious people to know what Fabiha uses out in the field. But now we're looking at this. We're looking at all your safety gear that you're wearing. So what precautions have you been taking? Could you talk me through, what it's like going out every day into the field, like you've said, And what is the routine that you follow when you're going out, when you're outside, when you're coming back in?
Yeah, it's a really a very new thing for me also, because I mean, for many of my photojournalist friends who has covered, in the past Ebola or other, hazardous condition related to disease, they are well experienced how to handle it. Like, I mean, hazmat suit and mask, gloves. These things are very well known to them. But as a photojournalist, it was my first experience. I mean, navigating these resources, and I'm a member of Women Photograph, and also I'm a member of Women in Journalism. These groups are providing great resource to us. I mean, I have
Right,
been going through so much resources, because I cannot risk others' life for my duty. That was
right,
in my head
right,
all the time, because I mean, when I am secure, then I'm securing the people I'm interviewing and the people I'm working. So it's a kind of our collective responsibility. It is no longer my, I mean, I'm not trying to save myself, I'm trying to save everyone. So it's a really scary thing, because I mean, every time carrying all this disinfectant with me, even carrying that spray machine with me, because I have to look,
yeah, I
look
was
for,
noticing that actually. What is that? It looks pretty
yeah.
complicated and big.
Yeah, it's a big thing. Yeah, it has a very big wear. I haven't included that in the picture, but I also carry that in my car. And you have to plug in and it spray all over. I mean, it's a kind of, what I can say. It's a, mobile kind of mobile thing, mobile in disinfect machine. So
Wow, and
basically,
these are all things you had to buy specifically now for
yeah,
this
yes,
situation.
with my own funding, because I mean, yeah, my like I have been working for Beeston Acton. It's an origin publication. I have been reporting for them,
Right,
and
right,
they have offered me some, that the basic, the mask, N95 mask, and other gloves. But the thing is that I was 100% sure that I have to invest in these equipments,
right.
safety equipment, that because of the safety reason. So
Of
every
course.
time before I'm going to the assignment, another headache, because the preparing the camera bag is one thing,
Yeah.
because
So
and
we're looking at that right now. You already have a lot of stuff in the camera bag itself.
camera bag, and then keeping a safety bag, it's another thing. So spraying all over, everywhere, and even in the elevator button, even the car window, everywhere. I mean, all the time I am very well aware that every time I'm interviewing someone, I'm spraying the person, I'm spraying myself, I mean, whipping off my equipment, my camera, my gadget, everything. And I am really concerned, I mean, very cautious about one thing, that um, whenever I am heading into one location, I'm not taking a lot of thing with me. I'm just taking precisely what I need, so that the
Right,
contact is less. And rest of the thing I'm keeping in a car, or however I'm moving, or to the other colleague. But
right,
I'm trying to minimize the things I'm carrying. I storing in one place. So yes, lot of these things are, and not all of these are reusable. Many of them, when I'm working and going inside the hospital, the doctors advised me that, I worked in a hospital, and one of the doctor told me that this suit is not going to save you. So what they do, they just burn it away. So
oh wow, okay.
I mean, it was not known to me, because in the resource column, I never heard of this thing. But
Right,
I just listened to him, because I mean, they are experienced. They know what is happening with the virus. I am not the experienced person.
right.
So the day I was working inside the ICU and inside the hospital, I just burned all my stuff after this, after cleaning everything. So
Oh wow, okay.
it's really, it's stressful in a sense, because when you are looking into the picture or the publication, it may be not like, because it is not showing the behind the scene what we are doing actually, because it's
Yeah,
it is not visible. For some people, it is just like daily life. But when I am going inside a daily bazaar or like market, there are still hundreds of people. I don't know who is infected or not. So
right.
I'm wearing suit, I am in gloves and in mask. I become an alien. But this is a
Yeah,
different kind of, this is a very different kind of experience.
And
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I guess you
because
can also see it. We're looking at pictures of you in full gear, and we all know how how it can be difficult for people who are also on the other side of the camera to see people in these kind of suits and then still feel build some sort of a connection with them.
Mhm.
Now, just to move on to the next, they're saying now, mentally, how are you, dealing with this, working in a completely new way, like you've described? Has it affected your normal instincts while working on the job?
Yeah, of course, because lots of anxiety. This is part of our life, Hari. Because I mean, we are the first witness of this catastrophe and other disaster. So the thing is that it is going to affect you somehow as a human being, because no matter how you are trained, no matter how you are trained, that you have to do your job, and emotionally you have to detach yourself from the situation. But the reality is that we are human being. As a female, I feel like I'm a male, because of society and so
Right.
many other things.
Right.
Male are really, they are emotionally is stronger than women, what I believe. I mean, of course, in some situation women are also strong, but I feel like it's really difficult to see things, and then when I come back to my place, and then I recall all the things, because I have been through so many things. I have seen death, I have seen loss, I have seen, like,
Yeah.
when in front of in front of my eyes, I have seen so many things. So it's a flashback of altogether everything. It's not just one thing. In some days it's traumatic, but you know that when I recall the most memorable things, that what had happened to me, it's an experience. Because
Right.
when I documented refugees' life, in 2016, there was a family I was following.
Right.
There was a mother with three kids, and she was telling me that, see, you followed me for 3 hours in this journey, and you write my story. You are going to take this story to the world, so people will know what we are doing. Thank you for doing this job. So those are the moments when I realized that this is important to go there and
Yes.
bring these stories to the table. So yes, there is trauma, but there is treasure also. This is not all about trauma, and I feel this trauma are associated with these memories, which are our treasure. Yeah.
Sure. That's a beautiful way to look at it and to put it as well. Could you just talk to us through some of these photos that I'm going to be sharing now? Of course, all these photos are taken by Fabeha over the last few weeks on the job for various publications and NGOs. But I would let rather that she talk about the pictures. So I'm just going to make this full screen so we can focus on the image. And I'll let Fabeha tell you about this one.
So the image you are seeing at this moment is an image from a family. So I have been covering some stories in the slum. In Bangladesh, there are 7 million slum dwellers. So the thing is that the government announced lockdown since March 26, and as
Okay.
soon as and this the problem didn't start from March 26. Many of these, you have seen that there is a man there. His name is Shaun. He lost
Okay.
his job 1 week before the lockdown. So since
Okay.
then, almost more than like 1 month now, they are like,
Right.
isolation. They're in lockdown situation. They have two kids, and
Right.
when I interviewed them, they didn't have any food in the house.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
it was really pretty alarming, that because he was telling me that even I don't have money to buy poison. So if
Wow.
it continues like this, we will have to. And but I want to show their. I didn't want to show their unhappy stage, because whenever we are seeing that people
Yeah.
are. I mean, I don't want to show that people are dying or having in some acute problem. I want to show that, see, this is a beautiful family. They have a life. They have two
Yeah.
children. They
Yeah.
play just like us, the way we
Yes.
play inside our house with our kids. So this is
Yeah.
why I captured this image, and with the associated text and my reportage went for the newspaper, that how their situation is now. But I mean, they are really in a terrible situation. They don't know. Even this couple didn't have any mask. They don't have
Right.
money. How they will buy mask? They don't
Yeah,
have
exactly.
money to buy soap. So one
Yeah.
of them, the lady was telling me that we don't have food at home. How we will buy soap and wash our hands? So that is a luxury for them, buying soap and washing their hands. So imagine what is going to happen to the family of these 7 million people who
Yeah.
are living
So,
in
yeah.
slums. So yeah, that was the
So this is just a representation of so many other families and what they are going through, and that really broke my heart when you said that. That if someone is pushed to the point where they say, "Oh, don't have money to buy poison,"
yeah.
then it makes us really question what kind of a society we're all living in.
And
So
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
We
So
can go.
moving on now, I think this is the same lady, if I'm not mistaken. His wife. I'm guessing in her home. Maybe is she making
Yeah,
filling up for rice, or is she just cleaning
yeah,
her
yeah.
vessels?
No, no, no. She is preparing for the lunch because she borrowed some rice from the neighbor, and
Right.
she's using the water because water supply is not available all the time. It's like only for 1 or 2 hours there is water in the slum. So the
Okay.
thing is that we are promoting and telling them that they need to wash their hands. They have to maintain the basic hygiene. But how? When people do not have the capacity or do not have the resources or do not have the have any other means to have, how they will manage to maintain this. So it was the
Yeah.
story of the family with some few photographs. Yeah, it was about that.
Okay. Um, Now this is moving on to I guess a different this thing. Now these are also, of course,
In
it's
the
in a slum, I must guess, but I guess kids are also even though
kids are,
people say that
and
uh,
yeah, yeah. In this picture, the youngest one is suffering from jaundice. So her mother
oh,
is also suffering from jaundice, and this baby who is carrying her, she is having fever, and they don't know like for how long. I mean, when they will be able to see a doctor because. In every slum there is some pharmaceutical shop. I mean the
right,
medicine shop. So
right,
in since the COVID-19 situation and coronavirus situation, those doctors are not available anymore. So
okay,
the lady took both of the kids in the dispensary, but the doctor was not there. So she just bought some medicine by on, like I mean, the very basic medicine, and they are not getting any treatment at this moment. So I would like to demonstrate that the thing that anyone can get affected in the slum because isolation is an impossible word. I
yeah.
mean, in a city where 20 million or like 25 million people are living, isolation is an impossible word. So yeah,
Yeah,
we
and
can.
also the fact that I guess just because this one big disease has taken over the world doesn't mean that other diseases have taken a break. They are still there. Like you said, her family is suffering from jaundice, and
This, yeah.
people need treatment even for other things, but it's so hard to get because all resources are now focused on COVID-19.
Exactly, because and the problem is that many other facilities, the health facilities, are not operating anymore. Many hospitals are in lockdown. So what is going to happen? And of course, in addition, there are many non-profit organizations used to work inside the slum and many other charitable organizations.
Right.
But due to the outbreak, now they are not getting any of the services, which is making this more miserable because they are going through kind of recession at this moment. We are fearing
Yeah.
for a famine that coming in our way. So
Yeah.
it's difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, we'll talk about that more in detail in a bit in this interview. Again, I'm sure a common feature, a lot of mothers with small children, trying their best to make the most of this situation. Is that the same child that his sister was holding, or a different child from the earlier picture?
Okay. Okay. Let me check. Yes, this is the youngest kid. Her youngest kid. This
Oh,
is the
okay, okay, okay. And the mother, of course, was also
and
ill herself, like you said.
yeah, yeah, and she's suffering from jaundice herself also. Oh, yeah, this is the same kid. Sorry, sorry. This is the same kid.
Oh,
Both of them are suffering from jaundice. Yes.
okay.
So she couldn't. get any medicine, and she doesn't know. And also the thing is that her husband is not getting any work because it's lockdown. They are not
Yeah.
allowed to go outside,
Right.
and she
Right.
has little, so it is very difficult for her. So I wanted to demonstrate the, the story of these families, that how this is affecting the people living in the age of the society.
And yeah, and how impossible the situation is.
Yeah.
There's another one, of course, showing a few more people and showing us how difficult, like you said, how difficult isolation is for large segments, for millions of people in Bangladesh and, of course, in India
Yeah.
as well. And you
Mhm.
see how, I guess, is this man getting in supplies or is he trying to leave? What is happening here?
No, no, no. This is because I have a tendency to take a detailed caption or a story behind of every picture, because I mean I started my journey as a writer, so
Right.
I mean it is always there because I wanted to know that what is happening whenever I took picture, and then I just rush to the place and want to know. So the thing is that the lady, oh, sorry, you are not seeing the lady. That the lady is behind the van, so they cannot give their rent for several months. So the
Okay.
landlord, the landlord just are not no longer letting them stay in the houses in their
Wow.
house. So they don't know what they will go. They are just taking their stuff from the house and moving to a
Wow.
relative's house. This is the situation now because many people are not able to pay their house
Rent.
rent. So
Yes.
yeah, and not because many landlord are dependent on house rent as well. So we cannot blame that in a slum house that they can. I mean, it's not possible. So the thing is that this is showing a different side of this economic crisis. That
Yeah.
how and definitely, of course, isolation is impossible because people are wearing just mask and thinking that they are safe, but this is not true. I mean, they are in contact, in a very close contact all the time.
Right, right. And it's so important to have this background information because, we can understand so much more about what's happening just with the information that you've now given us. And now the picture takes on a whole new meaning when you look at it.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
even the expressions, the pain that you see in people's faces, the kind of frustration and, I don't know, probably, no hope in a way, which is a very sad thing to see in any fellow human being's face.
exactly.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so we'll move on now. Here, of course, again, talking again, like you were talking about the economic crisis that is, that is happening now, and how we are on the verge of something that is going to affect millions of people. And here's a man with a handful of coins. Uh,
Yeah,
maybe,
and there is a story behind this picture as well.
yeah,
So,
please.
yeah, this is a young man of like he maybe probably 15 years old. So he was selling mask. Why
Okay,
I took this picture? Because he had all the coins, and only the in even in Dhaka, in like coins are not, people don't use coin anymore other than the beggars.
right,
So the
right,
thing is that many and disabled people and beggars and slum dealers are buying this mask. So I
right,
want to show that they only have this coin. I mean, maybe 2 taka, maybe 3 taka or 4 taka, and they are
right,
buying mask with this money. And he is the seller. So he was showing me that, see, like when I was interviewing him, he was telling me that, I mean, all kind of people are buying masks from him, but majority are very poor, like very poor, like the
right,
beggar and the disabled people. So I want to show that side of the crisis, that see that people only have 1 taka or 2 taka, they have only coin, but they are buying, trying to trying to be safe in this situation. They're buying mask with this money. So
they're doing
yeah, this is
the
the
with
this is
very
the story
limited
behind this
resources.
picture.
They're doing the best they can, basically. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah,
now, yeah, and
yeah,
okay, this is so.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
this
true.
is another. Yeah, please tell me the behind this. What is the story behind this picture?
The next
Uh,
one is okay.
yeah,
No.
the next one. Yeah, there's a man in a mask and uh, a cap, and
Oh,
his eyes tell me a lot. There's a
yeah,
lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
uncertainty,
And he.
a lot of fear. A
Mhm,
lot of
mhm,
maybe frustration as well.
mhm, mhm.
So,
It's
who's
really
this man?
frustrating for him. He works. Yeah, he works inside a food storage shop. So he is dismissed from his job the day I took this picture.
Wow. Okay.
So this was really a very, very uncertain day for him and many of his colleagues, because many, shops and other things were already closed. Though it's a food storage, I mean, food market and other market can open. Like, I mean,
Right.
government said that they can operate, but many people are dismissed from their job. So that's a very different thing, because I mean, and also there is an uncertainty, not only about income otherwise,
Right.
what gonna happen. I mean, we don't know what gonna happen to us tomorrow or the
Yeah.
next week. This
Yeah.
uncertainty was really the thing that that's showing in his face and eyes.
Okay. Uh, okay. Now we move on to maybe is this a healthcare worker who's disinfecting the thing or?
Mhm. City Corp. Okay, the picture is not yet here, so
Okay.
I'm not
So
seeing
this
his.
is a okay. Just to describe it quickly to you, a man
Yeah,
who has a
yeah,
cylinder back and he's spraying. Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. Now I'm saying it. Okay, yeah, this is a guy from City Corporation. So he's just trying his best. He start from early morning, and this is like our city corporations and also WASA and community people are trying their best to do whatever possible they can do. So yeah, he's just doing his job.
Yeah. Another line of many people trying to do their jobs in a difficult situation.
Yeah,
Um,
of course, because I mean, he was telling me one thing that, he is always putting his mask on, and after finishing his job, he like used to take shower and do everything. But it was really interesting to speak to him and also the other people who are just the cleaning service and from the city corporation. So they were like, I mean, they were telling me that we are always cleaning the city. So now it's our job that we should work more. So that was really inspiring for me to
yeah.
see basically the people who are working and cleaning the city and now facing this, because it's a very hazardous job all the time. Now they are in greater danger, which is sad, but I mean they are doing their job, which is really appreciable. So this is these two women are like was looking for aid because they don't
Okay.
have any food at their home, so um, they were waiting outside a super shop. But sometime the people who are doing their bazaar from the super shop, they used to give them some money or some groceries, so in a hope for that, like they were.
Yeah.
And the lady in yellow was telling me that like she never begged to anybody for help because she is a housemate, so
Yeah.
she always worked. So it's at the time she was telling that in like I mean throughout her life she never begged to anybody, but because of this situation now she's on the street and asking help from people. So that was really terrible to hear
Yeah.
from a
And
middle-aged woman. Yeah.
yeah, and also, I mean, it's robbed people of their dignity as well, I guess, along with a whole bunch of other things. Like you said, people who are able-bodied, who are willing to work, who probably worked hard all their life, now forced to, to actually literally go on the
Mhm.
street and ask people for help, which is a terrible situation.
Mhm.
Now, has
So
the,
yeah,
yeah,
this lady is she's working in a super shop. So she's now and like every half an hour she's coming outside and using the using this space for cleaning her hands and everything. So why I took this picture, because I want to show that people are, I mean, now people are practicing this hygiene. They are careful
right,
because they have to do
right.
their job. I mean, you know that worldwide in super shops so many workers get infected already.
Yes,
That is
yes,
common
of
in
course.
Bangladesh also. So they are trying to save themselves as well as they are trying to provide their services, which is really appreciable. So that is what I want to
Yeah, it is.
demonstrate.
And I guess this is again at a super shop where you see again people like everyday workers, having to do this. Plus, I guess
Yeah.
the customers also are having to wash their hands and sanitize
Yes,
before coming in.
yes, they are just trying to be, I mean, taking all the precaution as much as they can. Yeah.
Now, this is a slightly more serious situation.
the uh, the lady had an accident, so she has to go to the emergency, and then she has to have the stitches in her hand. And the doctor here is I mean, is a public hospital doctor. So he is I can remember, like, she is 51 or 50 number patient that he is
Wow.
attending. So this moment is really important for me, because I want to show that the doctors are trying their best to give service, and also there are health emergencies that people have to go to the hospital. And if, I mean, maybe you heard the news that many hundreds of doctors are infected in Bangladesh
Yes,
already now.
yes, I heard that. Yes. So,
I mean,
I mean, how do you think the healthcare system in Bangladesh is prepared for this, or what do
uh,
you think about?
no, no, not really, because I mean, I made an interview with many doctors who bought their own PPE or other safety equipments, because I mean, government was trying to help them, but there are ward boys, there are nurses, there are other. I mean, in a hospital there is not only doctors, there are health.
Right.
I mean, there are other healthcare professional.
Yes.
Everyone was in a dear need of equipment, but I mean, we have failed them in a way that they are already in a greater risk. But I feel like, I mean, having not those equipment put them in greater risk also, because they were doing their duty. Every doctor I interviewed told me one thing, that this is our duty, and we are going to do this. We are going to serve our people no matter what, even if we get infected. But they were really concerned about one thing, because about their family, because they
Yeah.
don't want to go back to. I interviewed one doctor whose wife is basically, it's a very common case. The doctor and the wife of the doctor is also wife of the doctor is also a doctor. So
Okay.
both of them are attending COVID patient. So
Okay.
they have little children. And
Okay.
I mean, and so it was a really hard for them, staying away from them, seeing them in video calls. But they were doing it so that they can serve other people, and they don't know that if they will get infected or not, because I mean, it's tough. So I really realized that how important it is to invest uh, in science, in healthcare system. um, we were really unprepared. Not only Bangladesh, as a whole world, we were unprepared. Um, it's sad, but it's true. You see, the little baby, she had an
Yeah.
accident. So I mean, everyone if you visit the emergency room of any hospital, there is always emergency, no matter what kind of disaster they are
Yes.
facing.
Yes.
So
Of
if
course. Those don't stop just because of this. Yeah.
no, if doctors stop attending the patient, where they will go? I mean, they will
Yeah.
be in great problem. So yeah, I want to show that
And
context.
and just to be clear, right, when you've taken these pictures, you were in a full PPE, which is of course a personal
Yeah,
protective equipment.
uh,
So yeah.
yes, I was an alien, and I mean, it's very sad. You can see the doctor
Yeah.
himself also, because his phone, he is covering his phone with multiple layer of plastic,
Just
and
in
he
case. Yeah.
just in case. I mean, that is what I want to show, because I mean, these are the candid moments.
This is
These are the
a very powerful photograph for sure, Fabiha. Because you
because
see, not only first of all, the doctor is lost in this amount of gear that he's wearing. There's barely an evidence of a human being, just a little skin tone that you can see behind the goggles, and everything else is covered, including a phone, which has now become such a common visual thing in the world. Everywhere you go, you see people using phones in so many photographs, and now even the phone has been put under so many layers of plastic, so you can barely see any evidence of humanity in this picture, but there is so much humanity behind the scenes happening.
And the most interesting thing is that the doctor was telling me that they have to attend a lot of, patients' call, because many people are not wanting to come to the hospital, and they are not
Right.
encouraging people to the
Right.
hospital.
Right.
Many of the doctors are voluntarily giving their number to the patient, that you don't have to come for a follow-up visit. We will attend phone call. which they are doing voluntarily. That those, this kind of humanity actually is really rare, and these are the moments when we feel that, yeah, as a human being we will overcome this disaster for sure.
Yeah, I really hope that people who are seeing this understand what kind of measures doctors and healthcare workers, nurses, ward boys and women, even people who are cleaners in hospitals, janitors, what kind of effort they're making, and not to treat them badly, because we hear so many reports of doctors and nurses and other healthcare workers being treated so horribly, even in their own homes or their own apartments or wherever else, just because people are so scared that they will be carriers for the disease. But with ignorance, nothing is solved in this world. They have to understand that they are risking their lives at so much thing. And now we move on, from, of course, healthcare workers. There are many other people, of course, who are out there doing a job. uh, I'd like, if you possible, if you could just talk me through this picture as well, Fabiha, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. So you can also hear the mic from my place. So every time,
I can.
yeah, you can. So the person is, I mean, it is a similar kind of person, the community police who is just telling them that you have to stay at home, don't go outside, it's very
Right.
dangerous. So these are the little effort from also the community and the community police, that they are trying to mitigate mitigate the risk. And you can see
Yeah.
that there is a young boy behind the man, that still
Yeah.
people have to go out for work, for emergency, and they are using the precaution. But it's really important that their service is also important, because there are many people in slum, in other areas, they have little education or no education. They have no idea, like, how dangerous the virus can be and what is the
Right.
update of the virus. People don't have, all the people don't have television and don't have access
Yeah.
to internet or other stuff. So this little announcement and the updates of the
It
virus,
just helps. It
that
just helps to put people's minds at ease as well, I guess.
yeah, that's true. And maintaining the distance. And so he was talking about maintaining the distance. This is really important, because from everyone is trying to do their job, and every job is really important to
Yeah.
minimize the risk, to save our life. Yes.
Of course. So yeah, and of course now we move to another thing where now this has become a common feature on the streets, where you see a person in a full PPE or a hazmat
And
suit.
so I was observing this man for a while. I didn't take a picture just instantly. It was not an instant click. So
Okay.
what struck my mind is that people are going through a lot of mental stress, because he was in the middle of the road. You can see his body language and everything. Like, it's kind of that I'm losing this the game. I'm losing it. His
Right.
expression was this. I mean, and I stopped for a moment. I was seeing him that, like, I mean, he was there like 20 seconds or more than that, and he was
Right.
not moved. He was like freezing, like in fear, in uncertainty. And I don't know what went through his mind, because I was not able to talk to him, because he just left after his car arrived. I don't know what is his profession or what he was doing, but I assume maybe he is a health professional or someone working in the dispensary or somewhere. But
Right.
I mean, it is a very common thing. Whenever I am out in the field, I'm seeing that people are not in themselves anymore. People
Yeah.
are in anxiety, people are in stress, people are facing so many mental trauma and stress, that we are going to know after this period is over, because I mean, it's going to be with us for such a long period of time.
Yeah,
The
man.
aftermath is not about the economic crisis. The aftermath will be the also mental crisis in the long run, I feel so.
Again, we have to read these images and these people's minds through their eyes, and his eyes look so haunted. Like you said, if he's just frozen there in fear and like uncertainty, not knowing what to do next. And now now to move on. Uh, Now,
Yeah.
before we start talking about this picture in particular, Fabiha, now some of these pictures seem like you've shot them on maybe a 24 lens, or a wider lens, but some of them seem like you've. Are you also using? I know that you use a 24-70 pretty often for your work. 24-70
Yeah.
to 2.8 or whatever.
But my favorite is actually 15 and then 35. I mean, I don't like zoom lens, but for
Yeah.
sport news and for situation like when I'm
Yes.
working inside a hospital, I have to use that. I don't like, but I have to use. But
Yeah.
I am a very big fan of Prime. So here this is also a story. As I say that I
Exactly.
always
Yeah.
try to know what is behind the thing. You can see that there is money with her.
Yes.
She belongs to a middle class family. She didn't want that I take her image of the face.
Okay.
So she belonged to a very middle class nice. Her husband is works in a nice office. So
Okay.
the money she is scanning is the only last savings from from her family. So
Okay.
she is waiting for the government aid. Government is
Okay.
giving aid in
Right.
different street,
Right.
and she also carried the money in case she didn't get the aid. She has to buy with this money. So I feel like there is a hesitation, there is some uncertainty, and there is anger, there is frustration that I felt when I was capturing that moment, because at that point I realized that how situation are changing, that a middle class housewife has to come into a street and quit queuing with slum dealers. That is a really really very difficult time we are
Yeah.
going through. Yeah.
But also an eye-opening time maybe for people who, I'm not talking about her in particular, but obviously many people live in
Yeah.
their own bubble. They don't see what's happening outside, and then now they're forced to,
Mhm.
be in the same situation as a lot of people, poor people who are in this situation most of their
Mhm.
lives or for a large part of their life.
Mhm. That's true.
Yeah.
That's
So, and
true.
this is of course, I guess the queue for aid. Is that what it is
Yeah.
for rations?
Yeah, for ration, she's wearing a nice, dupatta and have her nice clothes, and this is from the same spot. I mean, they're like you can see the first lady. She already bended, and other, there are so many people who never, from the slum dealers. It's not about only middle class. From the slum dealers, they
Yeah.
never come. Now they have fallen into such an economic crisis that we have to show. Like we
Right.
cannot take away our lens that no, we don't want to show the crisis. We have to sometimes show the crisis and show that yeah, this line is very big. It's a very big, and we have
And
failed in many ways. Yeah.
yeah, and you can see, of course, yeah, again here people are giving rations, I guess selling rations on the street.
Yeah, on the street in cheaper price, yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
From the
So,
government.
okay, and of course, security guards are another. I mean, I guess he's a security guard. Is that right, or is he part of the police or something?
Yeah, yeah. See, he is a security guard in front of he's just in front of a mosque, a closed mosque. So I
Right,
want to take this, I want to I took this picture because the mosque is the door of the mosque never closing in any
right,
time.
right,
So now the mosque door is closed, and there is security guard who is in active duty that no one can enter inside the mosque. So
right.
this is this is a really something, because as a Muslim, things not only Muslim, for
Yeah,
everyone, like
yeah,
people
of course.
cannot do their regular religious activity, which is very tough for people, and he is just there and was guarding. Yeah.
And now, especially now, I mean, in the holy month as well, of
Right.
Ramadan, this that people cannot go and do something that's probably very important, and they look forward to the whole year.
Mhm.
Maybe
Mhm.
going and worshiping.
Now, I mean, at this moment, the different kind of practice, like people are seeing each other on Zoom, on
Right,
Skype. It's
right.
tough.
So there are other ways, sorry, to do these things. Now, of course, public transport and transportation is another area that has been hit very hard, and because of that, travelers have been hit very hard. People who have to either had to go back home in the situation, or who travel in general for their work and other things.
It's really tough because I met so many women who are, because because before the lockdown, many people arrived in Dhaka for many reasons, and also, there are many people who cannot no longer survive in the city because Dhaka city is very expensive. So,
Yes.
I mean, and after the situation, many people every day are visiting train station, railway station with a hope that something will, work and they can go back to their villages because they have families in the village, they have relatives there, but now the train station is empty and nothing is working. So yeah, it's really um, this is a really uncommon sign. It's
Yeah.
strange. It's to see this emptiness, and there is emptiness everywhere now.
Yeah. And now, of course, this photo I remember something that you had shared very recently on your on your Instagram feed,
Mm.
and others as well. I think this lady was is waiting to hear from her son, who's elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. She was waiting for like she, as I told you, that everyone is coming to the bus station and train station with a hope that they can go back to their villages. So she is. I mean, see her body language, and she was really in tension that how she will
Mm.
go back to the village, and she was waiting for the call of her son. And I don't think so. She was able to go. So, and when
Okay.
she will be able to go, we don't know. Yeah, that's really
Wow.
heartbreaking.
It is very heartbreaking. And another, of course, a picture of a deserted train station where you can see how, it's like things that
Mhm.
places that are usually so crowded, especially in countries like India and Bangladesh and in cities like Dhaka and
Bangladesh,
Mumbai.
unbelievable. You will never get kind of such a. So the lady in red is a healthcare provider. She
Okay.
works in a hospital. So there is no transportation available at this moment. So, but
Okay.
they have to give their service. They have their job. So it's a everyday struggle to get the transport because how now they will travel to their destination because their home is far away from the hospital. So two of them, the other ladies who are sitting in the bus station, is also waiting for some kind of transportation, and the lady who is standing was, I mean, like she was very worried because she was already late for her hospital. So I really feel that this kind of people also need support to continue their job,
Right.
to continue their service, because I mean her job is important in the hospital, but she has to be there on time. uh, yeah, that is what I want to.
And also, you can see the distance that you have kept also, which is not normally. I mean, I know you take pictures from mid distance and
Right.
all that as well. Not that you don't, but this is not normally your style. And I can see that it's changed a little bit. It's changed your aesthetic as well because of the situation, right? Is
Yes,
that, am I
yes,
right in saying that? This is
yes,
more, okay,
exactly.
now I've moved on to the next one. Now, this is more like your usual style,
Yeah,
but yeah.
yeah. This is my, because I want to be, I want to go to close to the people, and I want to be very simple. Like I want to frame my subject in a very simple way. I love simple pictures.
Right.
So yeah, that sure, sure that is, and yeah, this is a transgender women, so their
Again,
situation.
but you might say it's simple, but actually, these kind of pictures, some of these, even this one, is a very emotionally complex picture. Like you're saying, even with people's body language, their eyes, what their eyes are saying, these are things that are giving us a lot of cues, about what people are actually going through, what's going on in their minds. Could you tell me a bit about this man as well?
Yeah, yeah, of course, because she's a transgender woman. So the thing is that, like, as you know, trans community is already a vulnerable community because transgenders consider, especially in Bangladesh, so they are already a vulnerable population. So the thing is that they don't have family. What I want to demonstrate here, that is her loneliness, because
Yeah.
when we are in lockdown condition, all of the people are, even in slum picture, you remember the slum picture, the
Right.
first picture, uh,
Right.
there is no food, there is no safety option, but they are together. The families, they are under the lockdown situation. But what about the elderly people? What about the transgender? What about the sex worker? They are
Yeah.
alone, lonely, and locked
Yes.
down with so many other people. Yes, they are from their community, but they are not the family. So what about them? What about their mental health? So one of the transgender was telling us when I was this reportage I did with another journalist and photographer. So
Right.
they were telling us it's a very interesting quote that is like people already hate us. If any of us get infected by coronavirus, people will shoot us. They hate us this much that because of us we are spreading this virus. So we cannot go out. Transgender people stop going out for kind of, I mean, it's maybe 2 months now. They stop going out. They are the first
Yeah.
people who stop, going in the community because they were
Yeah.
really scared that if they carry the virus with them, people are going to kill people will get angry with the community. In one room, 10 to 15 members are living.
Okay.
So isolation is not possible there, and also the mental health situation of them without any food because they usually beg from place to
Right.
place,
Right.
and all of like majority of them are sex worker. So
Right.
how they are surviving this situation? Because and whenever you are giving aid, people prefer to give aid to the slum dealers or the beggars or the people maybe housemaid, but no one likes them. No one wants to help them. They are the people who always, they have to push and they have to
Yeah.
go shop to shop to collect their portion
Mm.
of money.
Yeah.
People already don't like them. So how they are going to survive in this disaster? They
Yeah.
and the sector and the elderly people. So yeah, this is the photo from that
Very,
day.
that's very heartbreaking. And also at this point, like to acknowledge a mistake I made, which is my first mistake was to make an assumption rather than asking a question. And
Mm-hmm.
I assumed this was a man, but it was actually a trans woman. And I would like to apologize to this specific trans woman as well, because not only did I misgender, but I made a very blatant assumption without asking a question to the person who took the photo, which was you. So see how easy it is to misunderstand things. When we don't ask questions, when we're not open enough to understand how different people are living, and not just based on our own narrow frameworks of what we're looking at. Okay, so
This
that's something I just want to say.
then this is the reason I always try to have a detailed caption because I know sometimes picture don't have all information. Sometimes
Yes,
you to know the background story. Sometimes that can change your mind in many other ways. So yeah.
of course. Yes.